Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Southern Fried Philosophy Podcast, where it's two guys take on life, liberty, and the pursuit of gravy, and you, the listener, are getting a degree in common sense. We are broadcasting from the HB5 studios right here in beautiful, historic downtown Concord, North Carolina. I'll be your host, Biggin, and how about you? We've got a great show lined up for you, as always. A little bit of a how you be doing, some wacky news. This is your America. And we've got special guest Tory Almond on the show. But without further ado, let me introduce you to the second half of this flaky biscuit. That's right, I'm talking about the pride of Anderson, South Carolina. But most of you probably know him best as the Silver Tongue one. He is 2016's honorable mention Precious Lookalike Contest winner, the inventor of the Redneck Egg Roll. Give it up on old Mike number one. It's Mojo! How about you, buddy?
What up, dog? I'd like to announce to all our listeners I'm actually 14 days sober and clean.
Oh, congratulations.
From Chick-fil-A.
Oh, the Chick-fil-A. You're not on it anymore, huh?
It's so hard.
Pardon the pun, but you're off the sauce, huh?
I am off the sauce. Hey, thanks for joining us once again. I'd like for you to go to our Southern Fried Philosophy page on Facebook. You can also check us out on the webs at southernfriedphilosophy.com. Also at Twitter and Instagram at SFP Radio, and also go to our YouTube/SFP Radio.
Atta boy. Just a couple business items. If you're a new listener, you can just tune out. I hope not, but just some business meeting things we're going to talk about. If you would like a Syrup Life t-shirt, send us an email at sfpradio@gmail.com, and we'll get that in the mail and send that out to you. $20 for the t-shirt. If you would like to actually sit in on a show, you can also email us at the same email, sfpradio, and you could get your very own seat at the SFP Smoking Hot Seats, brought to you by Bad Mother Smokers Barbecue. So you can do that. And then we are also going to announce this year we're going to do the Southern Fried Lents. And Mojo, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, so obviously we're not Catholic.
We're not.
But Lent is something that's been introduced, into our lives, especially in my adult life. But for 40 nights, we're going to be doing probably a Facebook Live cast, but also we'll be releasing episodes via our podcast. But we'll be doing 40 nights, and we'd like to do men only. We're trying to hopefully raise a generation of positive men, show us how to be better men, better husbands, better fathers, better sons, better employees, better employers, whatever that may be. But just something that God's been dealing with our hearts as far as trying to raise up a generation of men who know how to be men properly. So anyway, so check that out. We'll have more details about that.
Yeah, and it'll be about a 15-minute devotion we'll do every day. We'll put it on the website, or you could follow us on however the means necessary.
Yeah,
that we're going
just
to do
imagine 40 nights doing something 15 minutes. What kind of change that could impact in your life?
Yeah,
so.
If only I did exercise for 15 minutes a day for 40 days.
Well, likewise, man. Likewise.
Sure, man. All right, well, I'm going to ask you like I always ask you every week. Mojo, how you be doing?
Dude. Oh, the South and the snow.
You gotta love it.
I know the Yanks make fun of us.
Rightfully
so.
Yep.
At good points in time. But, oh, my gosh.
Y'all.
Last episode, I talked about all the school delays. Now we're like into cancellations.
It's snowpocalypse here in North Carolina.
We had a half day tomorrow.
Ooh.
And they've already canceled it. So... besides that, also, I've never understood the reasoning of the milk and bread rush.
No.
Especially in the South. Especially in the South, because the South, the snow's gone away the next day.
So, or at least it's drivable. So
exactly. Right. And sometimes it's drivable that day. And a lot of times... the forecast is 90% wrong. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, yesterday I went to just get some, I shop daily at the grocery store because I never know what I'm going to eat. And I hate meal planning because, Friday nights I may not want the hot dogs I planned for last week.
I would love a hot dog right now.
But yeah, so I go just to grab like a couple things and walk by the dairy section, and there's people fighting over milk.
Are you serious?
Bread aisles clean.
Y'all.
So it's unbelievable.
Can I ask this question? Like, what's going to happen if legitimately we go under? Like, if something really does happen?
Oh, it's going to be Mad Max Thunderdome.
How long do you think it's going to take for that?
I think people will be forging weapons in their sheds and garages within 14 hours.
I think so, too.
I mean,
baseball
bat.
Yeah.
Baseball bats with the barbed wire.
You got Negan.
Oh, yeah. There will be a Negan that will rise. could have averted the whole milk and bread crisis, I guess.
Right.
But geez, yeah, it is the height of the insanity of the South is snow. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
We can handle like the Russians coming to attack us.
yeah. We
We
got
could
that.
handle Kim Jong Un and all of his missiles.
Yeah.
But by God, if you give us snow, we're out.
Oh, we lose our ever
We're
loving
done.
mind. We're done.
We don't
We're
know
done.
what this
Yeah.
is. And it shouldn't be that way. I mean, if you think about all the great things you could do with snow, I mean, you can make a snowman, snow angels, naked snow angels. You can make snow cream. I mean, those
As long
things
as it's not yellow snow cream.
yeah, you want to avoid that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. You can track deer a whole lot easier
Oh yeah,
in the snow.
and also the peeping toms too. You can track them.
I didn't realize that was a problem, but okay, yeah.
No,
I'll give you that.
Yeah, well, I do leave my windows open though. So. But yeah, it's I pulled 3 people out of ditches
Are you kidding?
yesterday because I had to get out and go to the gas station because my kids were about to drive me nuts, and pull 3 people out.
So you would rather pull people out of a ditch than deal with your own kids?
Absolutely, because you know what? Soon as they're out of the ditch, they're gone.
Hey, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're
but
right.
no, both my girls, they were sick with the flu this past
Sure.
weekend. So
No, I got you.
but yeah, we kind of got a little too close for comfort after those many hours together. But yeah, it's crazy.
I will say, being like I work from home, and so I'm home most of the time. But then, like when snow comes and I can't get out, then I start like I need to get out of the house.
you get itchy.
I'll stay home for a week when I could go outside of
Right.
the house, but the moment where I can, I'm like, oh God, I'm getting cabin fever.
Yeah,
I'm out.
That choice has been taken away from you. So
Right.
yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So for me, we had an interesting week. My aunt and uncle came down from Kentucky
Okay.
because they were coming to go to the UK South Carolina basketball game.
Right.
And a shout out to Chad Baker and the UK Alumni Association. If you're part of that group, you can actually get access to a suite, the suites in Colonial Life. So they never had the suite experience. So they came down, drove 6 hours to Charlotte, then 2 hours to Columbia. We went to the game, and they lost to South Carolina.
But the suites were pretty sweet.
But the suites were fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's totally worth it.
Why do you think they lost? I mean, I know South Carolina did pretty good last year. Are they that tough this year?
Well, we had 2 of our guys out,
Okay.
so that didn't help. Quade Green, one of our point guards, wasn't playing, so that didn't help. We really needed him that game because our other point guard can't. Like he handles the ball decently, but if you get him into traffic, he freezes. He doesn't know how to get through the
Turnover
defense.
king.
Yeah, so we had 16 turnovers, I think, that game.
Right.
So that doesn't help. You can't win a game like that. We weren't shooting very well.
Well, better luck next time. It's
Yeah.
better lose now than in March.
Speaking of, how about next year?
Mm.
Have you seen the news?
No, I haven't. The Robinson kid from South Carolina sign?
No, I was just talking about the schedule. They're opening the season 3 days earlier than they
Really?
have prior years. And the first game for Kentucky is Duke.
No way.
Yes, sir. In Indianapolis.
Oh, Indianapolis.
At Indianapolis. So
Wow.
I'm calling you
We may have to go ahead and go to
that we should go to that game.
All right.
Yeah.
Can we buy tickets now?
we might look into that.
Yeah, we need to.
UK fan here, Duke fan there, and
Yep.
this is the one time a year where we don't really get along. Well, I mean, we get along
Oh
fine.
yeah, yeah.
But
Healthy.
then
No,
if they ever play each other.
Yeah, the championship it may be a little different. Even the Final Four may be a little different. So
Yeah.
we may have to skip that show.
First game of the year, I'm okay losing either way, but I still think we're going to whoop your tail.
Took my daughter to the first Duke game Saturday.
So tell me about
last
that.
Saturday,
How did
so
that go?
That was awesome. I
Yeah.
think she was way overwhelmed because just the mystique that I've built for over her whole life and the long
Yeah.
time I've been a fan. So, but great, we won.
Yes.
And this is an awesome experience. You got to see how the rich Duke kids get to sleep out in Krzyzewskiville in the tents waiting for tickets.
Wow.
She couldn't quite understand that, but once she walked into the stadium, she realized it was kind of
Yeah.
small.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, we get to see Coach K because he had the flu virus, I guess. Too,
Oh,
so.
wow.
But yeah, it was a good experience.
I did make the open invitation that if your daughter ever wants to go see a real Coliseum, they can go to Rupp, and then I'll be glad to take her to a Rupp game anytime she wants to go.
I actually wouldn't mind going to Rupp.
Yeah.
I think I'd enjoy it.
All right, so let's get into a little bit of wacky news. All right, so keeping on the the basketball theme. Well, actually, let me digress just a little bit. How do you do when there is just an awkward moment, like on television or in real life? I.e., do you remember like Mariah Carey like 2 years ago?
Yeah, when she butched the
Yeah,
words to the Christmas song or whatever. Yeah.
She totally like went down in flames of glory. Like, how do you react to that?
I've my empathetic side comes out and I cringe for them.
Are
Because,
you-
part of me does. And then part of me, when it's a certain, it could be certain celebrities that are kind of snarky and you're like, I guess, they deserve it. But for the most part, I kind of cringe.
Do you get a little like secondhand embarrassment?
I do. Yeah, I guess it'd be a good way to describe that, I guess.
There is a video out there from our friends at Kentucky Sports Radio. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but this is one of those moments where you feel bad, but at the other part, you just really want to laugh.
Right.
So there was a high school basketball game, and there was a referee, and a kid stole the ball, and he was throwing it to one of his teammates. Well, his teammates didn't see it, and it flies over his head, and he hits the referee. But here's the awkward part. When it hit the referee in the head, it knocks off his toupee.
Oh, no.
So I'll try to blow this up so you can see it, and I'll put this on our show notes. But the kid throws the ball,
dude.
and it hits the referee in the head, and he goes back and he picks up his toupee and he puts it back on. And there's this poor kid. Everybody's wanting to laugh, and there's this poor kid that just taps him on the shoulder, like, "It's all right, buddy." Like.
That would make me cringe. That would be secondhand embarrassment. But hopefully the guy. But
what do you do with that, man? I mean, it falls out. It falls off.
Part of me says, anyone who decides to wear a prosthetic hair device has to kind of expect those could be those moments.
You're right. You're right.
So. Yeah, not saying you're asking for it, but there's a potential for those.
No,
Unfortunately, it was in front of hundreds of people, but and also on the YouTubes now.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's that's an embarrassing moment. I mean, obviously, hopefully the kids and stuff treated him with respect.
Yeah. Oh
and
my gosh.
didn't dog the guy.
The thing is it was again a small high school team in Kentucky, but it got picked up by ESPN. Fox Sports, everybody's picking this thing up, and it's like their highlight reel where it just knocks off his toupee. So,
if that dude wasn't an ESPN watcher, he's definitely not one now.
Do you have a wacky news story?
Yeah. Speaking on the snow theme, there's a man fools cops with fake car made of snow. This is in Canada, but a Canadian man who wanted to confuse snow removers with a car he made entirely of snow fooled the police instead. Simon Laprice created a life-size model of a DeLorean made famous in Back to the Future movies using a bunch of snow outside his Montreal home. It looked pretty believable, at least one cop who drove by. Anyway, the cops took a picture of it, actually inspected the car out, and then they actually wrote him a ticket. It was a fake ticket for the fake car, but next day the snowplowers dismantled the car.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that was kind of funny. So.
Well, it would have been even better if that DeLorean got up to 88 miles an hour.
The snow DeLorean, yeah. But I bet it would make some good snow cream.
Oh yeah, there you go. Gosh, that's another thing we could add to the list of things that snow's great for.
Yeah, that's right.
Going back to my theme on basketball, I don't know if you saw this or not, but the LA Clippers were playing the Houston Rockets this week, and the game got a little chippy, and they were fighting and yelling at each other. Well, a few of these Rockets after the game decide they're going to go into the Clippers locker room. Three of these guys, they're going to go in the Clippers locker room. The Clippers, you would think, would say, "You're not allowed in. We're not going to let you in." Blah blah blah. Their reaction: they called the LAPD.
Oh wow! They didn't play around.
They did not play around. And what helped this story move along is Charles Barkley and Shaquille. After hearing this, dude, they lost it. They absolutely lost it. So I've got the clip of them, courtesy of ESPN. on this one. So it's amazing.
Much.
They're not laughing at you.
No,
They're laughing at the incident.
the whole incident.
They don't believe these two guys.
Charles laughing.
I know why you're laughing.
I played in the NBA for 16 years, and I've been on TV for 18 years. This is the first time I ever heard police presence. They got, wait. They got a police presence? Are you kidding me? Wait, come on, man.
Numerous social media reports that
Shaq just doesn't care
LAPD was
anymore.
called.
LAPD was called.
These two, man.
Come on, man.
You know why they're laughing?
Come on, man.
Because they would.
Oh, man.
No, the issue
Man,
is
y'all gotta stop it, man.
they would relish
Come on.
for a guy to come in the locker room after them.
Hey, Chuck.
So,
Hey, Chuck.
I don't
Hello,
know what this is,
police.
and I don't know why.
Hello, police. Chris Paul trying to beat me up. This is Blake Griffin. Chris Paul trying to get in the locker room. Get down here and save me. Wait. Hey, this DeAndre Jordan. Mike D'Antoni trying to get in the locker room.
I certainly doubt that it was Clipper players who were requesting any kind of
Somebody had to call the police.
They just keep going for like 3 or 4 more minutes where they just lose it.
Obviously, there's an implied joke with basketball and the cops being called. We'll let you guys figure that one out in this heated climate. But yeah, that is hilarious.
But what's great is they try to do a plug for something else, and Shaq just keeps losing it. Like they're trying to plug like this racially sensitive shoe that's coming out.
Right.
A
Racially sensitive
a shoe that's like there to help equality and promote togetherness or whatever. And then Shaq is still just continuing to lose it. You'll have to see it.
I'll have to check out the racially sensitive shoe.
Yeah.
That may be the most stupidest item. That's one thing you love about the free market. People come up with ideas.
Well, I mean, I got the package here, so if you wanted to.
Let's take a look at Let's take a look at these shoes.
All right.
The American 3-month collection celebrating Black heritage around the world by fueling community action
Equality,
to
brother.
create
Equality.
positive
Black
change.
excellence, man. Like a hashtag.
The current collection takes inspiration from the Pan-African flag and is available on February 1st. Get involved at Nike.com/equality. Portions of the proceeds of the Black History Month and Equality products benefit Mentor, Peace Players, and the Ever Higher Fund.
Did you still realize they used to play with the Rockets to the guard?
They're still going.
Patrick Beverley.
I don't care about the
Nobody
shoe.
was trying to get Patrick
Nobody
Beverley.
was trying to get Patrick Beverley. Chris Paul wasn't trying to get to Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley.
So, well, there's your information about the shoe.
The equality shoe.
Black History Month and equality shoes, and
I guess when you have slave labor putting out shoes, I guess you could afford to take a loss.
oh my gosh,
Equality, but we're paying our guys 5 cents an hour. Some podunk industry in Indonesia, but hey,
goodness,
Quality.
Ouch. All right. So, and then the other thing is, you've posted a few pictures on our Facebook page about these Tide Pods and people not eating them. Can you explain a
well,
little
evidently, because
because we're morons.
our kids, and I speak of the millennials, probably, especially the 25 and down.
Sure.
Not the millennials who are actually out there trying to produce, but the ones who are still living in the basement, who probably have spent more time online playing Call of Duty or whatever the new games are that they have actually working a job.
Right.
But they've created this challenge, and it's kind of taken over the social media thing, and it's called the Tide Pod Challenge. Basically, you take a Tide Pod and you try to eat it, and you film yourself eating it. Now, several kids have actually died, supposedly.
37 people have died from this.
37, really?
37.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
I just can't believe that. Obviously, we don't teach our kids reading, because if you read the backside of the stinking container, it says "Do not consume." That's the reason why we have those stupid labels, is for stupid people like this,
idiots like that. Well,
Yeah.
and that they can't sue Tide for saying
yeah,
you didn't
but-
tell us not to eat it.
Yeah, just like
Eating
there was
the
just
Tide
common sense things growing up, like like your parents would say, "Don't put that fork in the electrical receptacle," or
Sure.
or "Do not touch the hot stove," or
Don't put your foot in a bear trap.
are we literally going to have to tell kids now everything, like don't drink the Drano, or
Right.
don't put your wiener in the trash disposal or something. I mean, literally, what we're gonna have to tell kids everything now. I mean, are we becoming the helicopter parent society?
I would absolutely love to read a wacky news story where a man has put his junk in the garbage disposal. Oh my gosh.
Franken beans down the drain.
Oh well. Yeah, I think we'll probably eventually be that society.
Yep,
And here's the thing is I didn't believe in Darwin until growing up, and I realized like we're Darwin proofing the society
Right.
by doing all this kind of stuff. Seatbelts, you should die. Like if you're dumb enough not to wear one, all right, you can go out.
Yeah.
Like why do we got to protect the idiots? Let them just kind of die off.
They'll take care of themselves.
Right, exactly. At some point,
We have way too many safety nets.
exactly. Just let them go.
Yeah, we try not to leave no room for failure. Unless you're a small business owner and the economy tanks, something like that. But everybody else, you're good.
We'll let the morons that really should let themselves go.
And by the way, we're not promoting genocide. We're just saying that you're not leaving it off the table. Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I'm not saying.
It's the Tide Pod thing. And if you don't know what that is, you have to go look it up because it's. My daughter made me aware of it, so that's the only reason I really
Please
knew
tell
of
me
it.
to God she didn't try to do
Oh,
herself.
no.
She
Well,
just said,
number
"Hey,
one-
Dad, you gotta."
No,
check
number one, I'm
this
too
out."
cheap to buy Tide Pods.
Oh yeah, those things are expensive.
Yeah, we do it the old-fashioned way.
You think your parents, if you ate a Tide pen or Tide Pod, do you think they would be more upset that you ate the Tide Pod or that you cost them like 47 cents?
Oh, my parents have been pissed at the money.
Yeah.
Well, because number one, if I would have ate the Tide Pod, they're like, "Well, you dummy, you shouldn't have done that."
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like a cause and reaction type thing. So,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, they would have been more pissed. I mean, they're the same parents that told me every time I open the door, "Hey, you're air conditioning the outside, or
Yeah.
you're heating the outside, or
Yes.
things like that." So that they're obviously worried about the
Shit,
conservation
look,
of
I'm
money.
just trying to stop global warming. Come on now.
Well, it was back then. It was global chilling.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Which I think it's now going back to global chilling.
Who knows?
Yo. All right. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have some America, and we're going to have our special guest, Tory Almond. You're listening to the Southern Fried Philosophy Podcast. All right, we're back, and we're going to do a segment called This Is Your America. All right, so I don't know if you saw this or not, courtesy of CNBC. Apple announces plans to I still can't even say it. Repatriate billions of an overseas cash. It says it will contribute $350 billion to the U.S. economy over the next 5 years. They will create 20,000 new jobs, open a new campus, and expects to pay about $38 billion in taxes back to the U.S.
We're all going to
Thoughts?
die.
Why are we all going to die?
In fact, we're still here. I'm just in case we have live listeners out there. Or
Oh, okay.
whatever. But
All right.
yeah, obviously this is announced after the tax cuts, correctly? Because
Yep.
the corporate tax,
Yeah.
we're was it now 15%? I think for corporations, I believe.
I think so, and there's a no penalty for bringing it back.
Correct. So I'd like to see how people are going to spin this as bad news because, well, number one, taxes. I mean, I have my various opinions on those, but it'll help the economy. I mean, 20,000 new jobs, and these aren't like jobs that'll be like $7.50 an hour.
Well, some of them could be like.
I mean, but I'm sure
not all of them.
a lot of them
Yeah.
will be tech jobs, high end, maybe call center jobs, tech help. In fact, we're not too far away from us. There's a huge Apple solar farm with a data center, so I think you'll start to see a lot more of that happen here stateside. So, wow, like I said, I'd love to see how people are spending this.
Well, I don't think it's getting a lot of press.
Of course not.
But one of the things I think that is funny is the CEO said, "Why are you doing this?" His response, quote, "We have a deep sense of responsibility to give back to our country and the people who made our success possible." You have a deep sense of responsibility after you're not penalized for bringing it on. I got you.
Well, it's probably a
gotcha.
deep sense of responsibility after the or iPhone X flop. So I'm sure you have a deep sense of responsibility. But yeah, I'm sure there's some motivating reasons for that. But hey, that's some positive news.
That
I mean,
is.
20,000 jobs. just that alone, even if they kept the tax money, just 20,000 jobs is awesome.
Yeah.
In fact, just the new jobs report just happened today, and we're actually at the lowest jobs reported since 1973.
Wow.
So,
Hey, buddy.
I'm still waiting for us all to die. Maybe this is because everyone's died; they're not reporting in.
Maybe.
So it could be it too.
Maybe.
Net neutrality.
Speaking of people dying, Trump reveals his winners of the fake news award. So he actually made his own list of awards of people that had fake news or fake news articles. So a couple of them on the list. The New York on number 10, the New York Times reported that the Trump administration had hidden a climate change study. Evidently, that didn't happen. Newsweek report that Polish First Lady did not shake hands with Trump, so he said that actually didn't happen. CNN retracted report claiming Anthony Scaramucci Russian ties. CNN's video suggesting Trump overfed fish during a visit to Japanese prime minister's house. So that was some fake news. Time reported that Trump removed a bust of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office. Number 2 was ABC's Brian Ross bungled report on the former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. And number 1, the New York Times' Paul Krugman claiming markets would never recover after the Trump presidency.
Well, I guess that was a huge one.
That was a major miss.
We just hit 26,000 all-time high. So.
Yeah. I will say, hey, economy.
Well, number one, Trump's Facebook page, when they started to promote this fake news awards, I mean, they hyped it up like it was going to be something serious. I mean,
right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And they pushed it off. I mean, I was expecting something huge, or huge.
Yep.
But it didn't happen. I think there's probably some other stories out there that he could have done that would have made a bigger impact. In fact, I would have been happier if he would have Rickrolled everybody. That would have been awesome. But
I think he's Rickrolling the country.
At times, I believe you. So, but no, I think definitely the Russian scandals. I mean. Those you're not really hearing much about that. I mean, Mueller is still on the hunt, but I don't think there's anything there.
Yeah, and I keep asking my wife, even if Russia they had communications, and even if Russia did provide or do some algorithms to try to make his numbers more boisterous than they were, even if that was the case, people still voted, and they didn't change the votes. I mean, if they did, then that's a whole nother story. But they haven't changed the votes, so people actually still voted for that, irregardless. Right. So I don't know why we're making it such a big deal out of that.
Well, people don't. I don't think a lot of people realize that even these electronic voting machines are not plugged into the internet. So I mean, they're not.
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't know how hackers. It'd have to be a mass coordinated effort. Probably bigger than JFK, bigger than the moon landing. I mean, these conspiracies that seem to have legs. So, I don't know how Russians would have colluded. In fact, we found out later that actually the Clinton Foundation has taken quite a bit of money from Russia. In fact, there's first indictments have been handed down as of this week to Uranium One, that whole Uranium One scandal. So
I was thinking you were going to say Uranus.
That could be it too. So, but no, this whole Russian scandal thing is just.
Well, can I also say this too? Even before the election, we were actually looking at going to war with Russia. There's a big thing about we were going to go to war.
That's kind of calmed down.
And now we're just kind of we're just chilling with them. Yeah, I think I'd rather have it this way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, to kind of go in line with what you're saying about this Russian thing, these are the kind of conspiracies that gain legs from people that are desperate. Just like there was another conspiracy that was plugged today through Newsweek, same sources of these a lot of these actually fake news. Newsweek came up with an article today talking about how Clinton still could have the road to presidency.
Okay, I don't think she's going to beat Oprah.
We're year one. No, this is currently.
Wait, now?
Yeah, now. She still can have a chance to get to sit in the presidency. So this is like some House of Cards conspiracy. I mean, this is huge. And to the point where, Trump will have to resign. Pence takes over. Pence resigns. Therefore, the third in succession would be Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House.
Right.
Paul Ryan gets the presidency, announces Hillary Clinton as his vice president, and then Paul Ryan resigns. Therefore, Hillary Clinton.
What? That's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
This is how desperate, and not desperate, but this is how idiocracy works.
Yeah.
It feeds off of
Oh my
of
gosh.
information like this, and these are supposedly our trusted news sources. I mean, but to be honest with you, I think they're becoming more like a smut rag.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Oh yeah.
smut rag for ugly people.
Can I ask, where did journalism go? On both sides of the fence,
Yeah.
on Fox News and CNN. Like, where has journalism gone?
Well, that's the reason why you're having social media, podcasts, things like that, or have
Yeah.
taken such a huge thing. I mean, the news is like the gold market, which sees incremental spikes, and then podcasting, social media, things like that is like the cryptocurrency where
Right.
one day it's 1,000, next day it's 10, or
Right.
and then the next day it's 9. I mean, so you see these broad jumps, and the growth is astronomical. So I think that's where the news is heading.
So the Southern Fried Philosophy podcast is your Bitcoin of news. Got
Yes,
it.
but
Fantastic.
we're one of the lesser known coins. So
We're the Ripple.
we're the biscuit coin.
We did talk about creating our own biscuit
right.
coin. That would be fantastic. Speaking about fake news, what are your thoughts on the Trump physical?
Yeah. So obviously, it was yesterday when we were listening to this podcast. Trump had number one kind of roll back a little bit over the last 2 weeks. Kind of the news has gone away from the Russian conspiracy to Trump's mentally unfit.
Yeah.
He's also probably unhealthy. So today was the annual physical for the president. So he goes over to the Bethesda Naval Center, which does all the medical exams for all presidents. And the guy came out and says he gave him a clear bill of health.
Yeah.
And
How about it?
Of course, Sanjay Gupta, who's I think CNN contributing doctor from Houston, came out and said that basically is a lie, that he had cardiac disease, But actually, if you look at the staples for his age and benchmarks for his age, benchmarks for his weight, things like that, he's actually not.
Yeah.
But they also claim there's a conspiracy there because Trump went from 6'2" to 6'3".
Well, the fact, though, they're listing him at 239, though. I mean, let's be real. I don't think he's 239.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I was listening to Seinfeld's comedian in the cars for coffee.
Yeah, something like that.
Comedians
in car getting coffee.
Yeah. And he was talking to John Oliver about it. He said, or just about Trump in general, and he said he would make a better stress ball than he would a president because you just kind of want to grab him and squeeze him because he's plushy.
He's definitely not the most politically correct guy out there, but
Yeah.
he is what he is. But like I said last episode, there's you got to divorce yourself from the man and
Yep.
the policies.
No, I agree.
Because the action is where it's at, not the vibrato.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, hey, if you just look at the economy, I think we're doing pretty well.
no,
So-
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have Tory Almond, our special guest for this evening. You're listening to the Southern Fried Philosophy Podcast.
Welcome back to the Southern Fried Philosophy Podcast. On the phone today, we actually have our buddy from over in Europe. I can't quite peg down his location because I can't pronounce the towns, but he's a friend of mine, Tory Almond. He is a missionary and also has his own business over there, but he is from near my hometown, Greenville, South Carolina. And I met him through when I had my restaurants, and him and his mom, and used to come to our restaurant all the time. So we just became buddies and found out he's a missionary over in Europe. So welcome to the show, Tory.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for having me on.
One of the things I would like to say, too, he's a pretty regular listener to the podcast. He's got a shirt. So, again, one of the few people in Europe with a shirt, or the only person in Europe with a shirt.
Yeah, how about that?
How about
Yes.
We just need to give you
That's
some.
pretty exciting. Well, I'm glad to help bring you guys Dutch listenership up a little bit.
it? Well, we need it. 'Cause-
Actually, we have quite a few now.
Yeah.
I just noticed on our stats. Yeah, so the
Really?
yeah, the Scandinavian
hey, I'll keep
countries.
working hard on it.
Yeah, you keep doing that. We just need you to start taking some of our stickers and just placing them everywhere. That way, people will check us out. So.
I've got a few. I've been trying to find those key locations to just be like, and right here.
I usually find cop cars work pretty well.
Yeah.
So Tory, give us a little brief biography of yourself, how you got started and things like that.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I started working with youth back when I was actually a young person myself. Just really have had a passion for working with young people. I wanted to be a teacher until, teachers kind of stopped with that whole teaching bit. I think it got to the point where once every teacher I knew was like, I'm counting down the days to retirement. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Right.
So I was like, okay, Lord, what do I do now? What do you got for me? What do you got planned? And one of these days I'm going to learn not to ask the Lord that, because
That's a good move.
you just never know what he's going to answer you. So a friend of mine actually suggested working and doing like youth ministry stuff. And I was just like, oh, a youth pastor. I could do that. You play games and eat pizza for the rest of your life, right?
Right.
Sure you do.
So, so I was like, all right, well, let's check this out. And I got my my bachelor's in youth and family ministry from good old North Greenville University. And just kept going. Okay, now what, Lord? Now what? And I'd done a couple mission trips abroad. And this is 2010. I did Europe with a friend of mine. She was trying to do video missions for her mission board, just explaining the need for missionaries in Europe, because everyone's like, oh, it's Europe. Everybody's good over there. They don't need people. But we found, there's a lot of churches here, but they're all museums. And the young people really started asking a lot of questions while we were interviewing them. And like, there's so much more to life. And it got me thinking. I'm like, Europe. This could be a lot easier than some hut down in Africa or something. So just started praying about, Lord, what do you got me to do? And he kept pointing me back to Amsterdam. So I was like, okay, let's try this out. And a friend of mine moved back from the Netherlands and said, hey, I think I can get you connected with a church here. And I actually got my Master of Divinity over here a couple years ago. And so came over, started working with the international church, fell in love with these expat kids, all the international multicultural kids, and said, Lord, how do you want me to continue doing that? And the Dutch have a great thing called the Dutch-American Friendship Treaty, where you can start a business, get a visa. So I was like, all right, let's give this a shot. And so that's what I'm kind of doing, the bivocational missions.
Nice. Very cool.
I tried to keep that short.
That's right.
No, that's awesome.
Because there's like so much that like all this other behind the stuff scenes, but it's like, all right, how can I squeeze this into less than 2 hours?
No, just actually an interesting fact. Norway, considered one of the most Christian nations on earth, actually has a participation rate of less than 3% of active Christians. So just to kind of reinforce your previous comment, just the need for the mission field there. And also, when we went to Ireland, I think I mentioned this in the episode when I got back from Ireland, that the Catholic churches there have literally nobody in there. Everybody's Catholics on Christmas and Easter, but the churches there are kept up, their maintenance stuff, mainly by tourists. So
wow.
Yep. Well, I would say here in Amsterdam, it depends on who you ask. Anywhere between 0.5% to 1.5% are evangelical Christians.
Wow.
So if the majority would be Catholic, I guess still, or Anglican, or what? How does that break down?
Well, the way it breaks down, about 50% of the country is considered, agnostic. And then 26% is atheist, and then the other 24% is religious of some sort. I think our biggest ones are Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam's actually up on the rise right now. And then I would say probably Catholics and Jews.
Okay, wow.
And forgive my ignorance with Amsterdam. Like, when I hear that, in my head, I think it's just a crazy town. like this, where prostitution's legal.
Red light districts.
Yeah, just crazy dirty. Is that the case, or is that really not true?
It depends on what part of town you're in. That's one of the things that the tourism board is really trying to clean up Amsterdam's image and really try to get people to realize it is a beautiful city. It's old. It's full of history. We've got so many museums. I think it's like one of the highest densely populated museums in Europe. So it is a beautiful city. But, you go to some of those tourist areas and there's a bunch of guys smoking it up. And I will say the red light district's actually shrunk quite a bit since I've lived here.
Good.
Over the past 6 years. So they keep trying to pull it in and not make it quite so obvious.
Actually,
but they're really trying to clean up the image a little bit.
I watched a documentary on the red light district, and the working gals there they pay into the state system and actually receive welfare or like a stipend when they retire. So it's an interesting dichotomy of how the values of that area versus how we are here in I guess Western half the hemisphere. So
what's some of the biggest struggles that you find in your country that presenting the gospel and really kind of making that stick for kids?
Well, I would say just kind of the whole mindset of people. It's really hard to get into conversations. I take that back because sometimes it is actually fairly easy to get into conversations. I'm trying to figure out how to describe that. So because everybody's kind of agnostic, they're very open to different things. So it is actually kind of easy for people to kind of go, well, why do you go to church? What do you do? And as long as you're not pushing your beliefs on them, they're pretty open to hearing what you have to believe. But then, because it's everybody believes what they want to believe, it does make it very difficult connecting with some of the kids and sharing, because you don't want to push too hard, where they just all of a sudden throw up a wall. But then especially like the expat kids I work with, we see a lot of them struggling with depression, loneliness, finding a way to fit in and find that community. Because, I love the Dutch people, but they're not the most welcoming people. It's really hard to really connect and make friends in that area. So we see a lot of these kids moving in and just finding trouble, connecting with people and feeling that loneliness. Well, so that's a lot of the struggles we see these kids coming up with.
Well, I guess they're so angry because all the Dutch people have to wear those wooden shoes.
Right. Well, and the weather here too, it's complete rubbish. It's awful.
What is the weather like there?
When it's I will say, it's very much like Seattle. I was actually home visiting for Christmas, and my phone went off and alerted me. It's like, tomorrow will be 15 degrees colder than the day before, and that's in Celsius. So I don't know how big of a swing it was. And I'm like, 15 colder? It's like, we just don't get that here where, I think this entire week we're like 5 Celsius as our high. Wow. And then like the warmest it'll be is like 8. And then at night it goes from like 3 to 6 or something, so it's very mild.
Wow.
And then the summers are a crapshoot. You could actually place pools and bets on the weather here. We might end up with a warm summer. We might end up with a cold summer. You never know.
Sure. Understand. What are some of the ways that you've seen God really kind of do some really cool stuff? Or what's some of the strongest times where you've seen God really just pour out on those kids or in your ministry?
It's been really neat to see because, having been here over 6 years, to see some of these kids actually grow in their faith and being able to pour into their lives. It's been neat to see some of these kids actually like start joining, Youth with a Mission. Some of them are wanting to go into the mission field. Some of them are, just really growing in their faith. So it's been exciting to see like stuff like that happen. It takes time. It's working with youth. You just,
Yeah.
It's like the slowest growing thing in the world is a teenager's spirituality. But I'm trying to think. We had a really cool story right before Christmas. We had our Christmas party, and a lot of the kids are thinking they're really interested about spiritual things. I will say this younger generation is really interesting with that whole idea because it just opens up so many opportunities. And so this little kid, he sees these other teens talking about what's going on, and they're going to come to our Christmas party. And he's like, what is this thing you guys do? And so they tell him about it, and his parents call, and they're like, okay, what is this stuff? So then one of the parents tells them, hey, we get a group of kids together, we do some socials, we play games. There is, some God time in there where we share a little bit from the Bible. And the parents were like, okay, cool, why not? he really wants to go. And so he's like really getting into this and really all excited. And like we're talking about the whole, like, what is the purpose of Christmas? And the purpose of Christmas is like, it's God's gift of sending Jesus for us. And he's like, he's in dead seriousness just stops and he's like, man, that's a damn good gift. And I'm just like, yes. And this little kid's like starting to get it. And we're just like, yes, we just love his enthusiasm for it. And when his parents came to pick him up, his dad picked him up, he looks at his dad and he's like, Dad, I know you and Mom don't believe in God, but I'm really like, I believe that God exists and I want to know more about him. And like us leaders are just standing there like, awkward. But, he's been coming to church. And so, we've been, it's stuff like that where we see some of these kids that just, they start getting it. And you're like, wow, this is awesome. And, getting emails from parents where it's just like, these kids are looking for something. They're looking for a place to belong and connect. And being able to provide that and share the love of God with them is just, it's so rewarding.
Has anyone ever traced back the agnostic roots of these countries, especially in Scandinavian countries? And off the top, I'm a World War II history buff. I mean, do you think Nazism and the move towards science and being an agnostic would be more in line with that, or atheism? I mean, is that because there has to be a downward trend somewhere? I mean, I don't think it's probably been that way since the foundation of Amsterdam or any of the countries around it. So, what's your perception, you think?
Yeah, it is really interesting because I actually live in the theologian sector of our town, Amstelveen, and I'm surrounded by streets that are named after Johannes Calvin, Martin Luther, Zwingli, like all these theologians, and people have no idea what the names are. There's statues everywhere for all these old guys that came out of this area. So it's not been that long ago. It is kind of, I don't know what the answer to that be, but it would be an interesting study to see when all of a sudden they just kind of stepped away from all that.
Sure.
You could have like a lot of interesting Paul type moments where you can say, oh, you don't know what the statue is. Let me kind of tell you the history about it and then present the gospel that way.
Well, and that's a nice thing about the holidays here. The holidays open up a huge opportunity to do that because they celebrate every part of Jesus's life, but have no idea what it means. So like, we've got the birth, I'm trying to think. Well, there's actually the Three Kings Day. More of the southern parts of the country celebrate that. But then it even goes up to like, Good Friday. People are like, well, what's Good Friday? And so, we're able to share about Good Friday, and then Easter. What's the point of Easter? And then they even do Ascension and Pentecost. Wow. So, it's like, what is Hemelfarts Day? You're like,
I want to know what that is.
Oh, let me
Camel
tell you about Ascension Day and Pentecost. I do love the name for Ascension Day, Hemelfarts. Yeah, it's great.
Sounds like a great holiday.
Yeah, but it is kind of interesting. It's like, do you guys know what this is? And people are just like, I have no clue. So it's like, let me tell you.
Yeah,
this is what it's about.
Yeah, here in the U.S., we love the birth, but when Jesus starts talking, that's when we kind of stop listening.
I think that's globally,
right? Yeah. Well, and it's great to actually have a day off for the Ascension. You're like, woohoo, day off. Thank you, Jesus.
If you could do that again, just in reverse, that'd be great. So tell us a little bit about the ministry that you do, like the organization itself.
All right. Well, so Children's Ministry Connect, CM Connect, they're all about trying to just empower children's and youth workers to do what God's, the call that God's given them to do. So I'm one of their partners in Europe where, they've just kind of said, hey, you go do what God's called you to do, and how can we help you? It's a great organization. They do a lot of training. They've got a conference coming up in the end of April, beginning of May. So it's a real small organization, but it's just a great one that really just tries to help serve under-resourced, children's workers, people, churches, stuff like that. So I'm over here, like I said, doing the whole bivocational thing. And I've partnered with the international church here to say, hey, how can I help you guys love on these international kids that we have? So we've got, obviously the Sunday school stuff that we do on Sundays. We've started an English group for the tweens just a couple years ago. So it's been really neat to be a part of seeing the need for that and helping kind of push that forward. Trying to think. And then we also do our social event. It's kind of like Young Life, because I was actually going to come over here with Young Life, and they kind of, they decided to put a hold on Amsterdam. So we're kind of doing the same thing where we just do an event, and it's fun, it's energetic, build relationships with these kids, and share, a small bit of the gospel with them each time we get together.
Cool.
Which is great because, like I said, these international kids are looking for community. So it's something that they're naturally looking for, and we're able to go, hey, here we are. And
nice.
We've got kids that are non-religious, unchurched, that are just going, hey, we need friends. We need people who understand us.
I think for any new believer, or actually current believer, I know community has been effective in my life. So just that accountability system, but also you just feel like you have that broader family. So I know that's huge. Question I have for you, the news here we see in America, I'm sure you see it when you're over here too, the mass migration of, I guess they're calling it economic refugees now, is what they've been recoined. How has that impacted where you're at?
It hasn't impacted where I'm at a whole lot, just because the Dutch government has actually kind of put a huge... Well, not huge. They've just kind of basically said, hey, we're Dutch. This is how we run things. If you like it, welcome. If you don't like it, go to another country.
That's awesome.
Is essentially what our prime minister has told them. Because when they first brought them in, they were having people from different countries mingling together that weren't getting along. And so that was causing fights. And obviously they don't agree on a lot of beliefs that some of the other areas have. So it was just like, it was causing a lot of trouble. And the government's like, whoa. We here in the Netherlands, we all survive. We work together. We respect each other. So, there's a door. Have a nice day.
Well, kudos.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah. So, but then, we've not seen a huge influx with it. But I've got friends that are working in Berlin where there's a huge influx, and that's definitely, it's a huge part of their ministry over in Berlin.
Wow.
But Germany's taken in like half of Africa, I think.
Yeah, I think they've taken 15 million or something, 5 million, 15 million. It's a huge number, and they pledge to do more too.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That changes the scope of not the color of the nation, but that changes the scope of the values.
Yeah,
the cultural identity, cultural nation stat. It changes so much. So
yeah, it really does. Well, and that's where the Dutch are welcoming, but it is one of those things where they're like, "Welcome to the Netherlands, but you need to be like us."
Sure.
Otherwise, we're going to be pushing against you and not really welcome you into our community. So we've seen that with, different religions that have come in and been like, well, this is what we believe, and just push hardcore that everyone else should believe that way. Mm-hmm. And they get a large backlash from the community.
The Heaven's Gate Society.
Well, there's pigs that have been strewn across farmlands that have meant to been for like refugees and stuff like that. And that people have known coming from Islamic countries. And they're just like, nope.
Wow.
Goodness.
So it's been quite interesting.
Sure.
I'm sure it is.
Tory, if somebody wanted to give specifically to you and your ministry there, how would they do that?
They can go to the CM Connect website. It's cmconnect.org. Actually, I think there's a short link for me. Let me just check and see if that works. Nice thing about being on the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go to cmconnect.org and scroll down, and you can find like where their ministries are and click on. I think I'm the only one in the Netherlands right now. There's somebody else in Europe, but it's not me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll put a
link
link
out.
out.
Just shoot me an email. Yeah, I can send you a link.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put a link out there
work.
for our sponsors page, so you can, if you want to contribute to Tory, or just click on our sponsors link or show notes, and you can go out there.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. Because, yeah, it's one of those things like people, they don't see Europe as being a huge place for, the need for missionaries. And so those of us that are here, it is very difficult for to raise the funds to continue doing what we're doing. And Europe's expensive. I mean, it's 46% more expensive to live in my little town here than it is in Greenville, South Carolina.
Wow.
So
Holy
it's
cow.
when that 24,000 comes in and you get done with the good old government wanting a ton of money out of it. And, and then you do the exchange rate and everything. It's like, oh, there's 16,000. All right, I gotta live.
Understand.
I might be in a tent. Where'd you say the community is? I might be out there with a tent.
I'll have to look that up for you. So, anyway, Tory, we're gonna wrap this up. We appreciate you coming on the show, and next time you're stateside, me and Biggin love to treat you to a steak dinner or a vegan sandwich. I'm not even sure what diet you're on right now, but
man, I love me some meat. Absolutely.
Attaboy.
I'm all about some meat.
All right.
So, well, and I want to thank you guys for making me crave biscuits every time I listen to your show. I've got some buttermilk in the fridge. I've got to try to work on a recipe that you guys gave me. And, it's nice to get a little taste of home. Well,
Absolutely.
Not taste, but a little sense of it.
You gotta make you some sausage gravy with it, though, too.
There you go. That's what you got to do. Get those pigs. Make some sausage biscuit.
Oh. Well, that's the thing. Like, finding proper sausage here, like... I gotta go over to Germany. They just don't do it here.
Oh, no.
So sad.
Amazon Prime.
So sad.
Amazon Prime, you some sausage. Cool. Well, thanks, Tory. I appreciate you being on the show.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for all you do.
Thank
All
you.
right.
You too. All right. Well, that's our show. Thanks, Tory, for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Please go to Facebook at southernfriedphilosophy.com. Or, I'm sorry, you can please go to Facebook at Southern Fried Philosophy. You can also go to the website at southernfriedphilosophy.com. Go to Twitters and Instagram at SFP Radio, and also check out our YouTube at YouTube/SFP. Man, I had a brain aneurysm there for a second.
We'll have Tory on maybe another time. It'd be great to know more about the story. All right. So, as always, keep it rolling.